millennials grew up with Cartoon Network. We've seen it all. The logo changes, new cartoons replacing the older ones' time slots, understanding the sly adult jokes. All of it. Sadly, kids today would never know the simple joy of fighting for the remote or jumping on the couch after school to watch Diddy spoil Dexter's Experiments or Buttercup going pow pow.
1, 2, 3, baby.
But something really bad should have happened for such a huge cable television channel to shrink on cable television. It does exist in many households even today, but the numbers have been drastically reduced. Cartoon Network has moved to streaming platforms, and the website died. Was it just changing times or something more? Well, that's why we're here today, to check out what the hell went wrong with Cartoon Network. Now, before I get into the era when it started dwindling on TV, let's check out its history a bit. Cartoon Network was launched on October 1st, 1992, and was operated as a Turner channel. Let me explain how. So, back in 1986, Ted Turner of Turner Broadcasting System acquired MGM. As luck would have it, due to financial constraints, Turner had to let go of MGM within just a few months. However, Turner wasn't a fool to sell back MGM without keeping a trophy for himself. He kept a lot of MGM's film and television library created before May 1986. He then formed TNT, aka Turner Network Television. Over time, Turner also bought the rights to Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Now, he had a whole lot of animated content both from MGM's library and the new deal with Hanna-Barbera. Also, the company had the rights to the pre-1948 Warner Brothers catalog. Turner now wanted a separate channel to stream only animated shows, 24 hours a day. This was something that had never been done before. Oh, thank you, Turner. In February 1992, Turner Broadcasting announced their plans to launch Cartoon Network, and a month later, Cartoon Network Inc. was founded. Finally, toward the end of that year, a television channel by the same name dropped, and the rest, well, is history. CN's journey started with Droopy's Guide to the Cartoon Network, an MGM cartoon character. Yeah, our white basset hound with an ever-gloomy face brought smiles for generations. As soon as Cartoon Network started, kids lost their minds. However, it wasn't the only cable channel to air animated programs. We had Nickelodeon for children's shows. But here's the catch. Even with Nicktoons, it could only draw a certain amount of viewership, and that became Cartoon Network's advantage. It drew hordes of kids to a channel exclusively created to broadcast cartoons all day, every day. Boy, the excitement was real. You could just switch on CN and there it was, cartoons, any time of the day. Initially, the channel relied on classics because they were still treading the waters. Understandable. It was a huge leap of faith by the company. A single genre channel, that too animation, could have backfired completely. Thankfully, it didn't. So, in the early years, all we had were Tom and Jerry shorts, Droopy, Bugs and Daffy Tonight, and Toonheads. So, in the early years, all we had were Tom and Jerry shorts, Droopy, Bugs and Daffy Tonight, and Toonheads. However, Cartoon Network's success came with some challenges. For starters, only 233 cable systems carried the channel in 1992. It had to reach a larger audience. The board came up with a simple plan, offering Cartoon Network as a part of package deals, which allowed viewers to access it alongside sister channels like TNT and TBS. And bingo! By 1994, Cartoon Network's ratings soared so high, the channel was ranked as the 5th most widely distributed US cable network. Hanna-Barbera Productions started gaining prominence now with shows like SWAT Kats, The Radical Squadron, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, and Two Stupid Dogs airing to increase exposure. In the meantime, they'd already gone international. In April 1993, Cartoon Network started its first international feed in Latin America. Soon it moved to Europe as a part of Cartoon Network Europe, and by the next year, Cartoon Network Worldwide was established to expand brand growth. Now, it was time to focus on original shorts. They began in 1993, and The Moxie Show was CN's first ever exclusive original. The idea behind this production was to primarily create a mascot for the channel. The real era of original shows, well, at least according to me, started with Hanna-Barbera Productions. In 1994, Hanna-Barbera created a separate division to produce cartoons exclusive to Cartoon Network and started the anthology series What a Cartoon. It debuted in 1995 and was a compilation of fresh new shows created by Hanna-Barbera and other independent animators. CN then started entering an age of spin-offs and signed contracts with various creators to create an ongoing series. The little nerd nerdy boy in his tiny lab coat marked the spin-off of What a Cartoon. Cartoon Network was growing exponentially. More original shows, a website which was rebranded as CartoonNetwork.com, launching a new action block, Toonami. Everything was going well. It even cracked a great deal in 1996. Turner Broadcasting joined Time Warner, solidifying CN's access to Warner Brothers and becoming a part of the Warner family. Big deal, huh? Yeah. Well, wait till Warner Brothers plays Et Tu, Brutus with CN. The start was flowery. Cartoon Network got access to a lot of shows which were previously licensed to the WB. ABC and Nickelodeon started shifting to Cartoon Network. Between 1997 and 1998, Cartoon Network's viewership jumped from 38 to 54 million households, and it became the second most famed channel for kids aged 6 to 11. In 2000, it launched another digital cable and satellite channel, Boomerang. Over the years, Cartoon Network kept on experimenting, and they turned out pretty good. In 2004, they rebranded to This is Cartoon Network, with a new logo and new bumpers playing. Most of the classic shows moved to Boomerang, and Cartoon Network started making space for original ones like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Ed, Edd n Eddy, and others. Personally, I loved Billy and Mandy. I don't know, man, but there was something about Billy's unusually big pink nose. Yeah. Action-based shows thrived on Toonami, and at times some were even cancelled, as Cartoon Network was now ranking at 1 with their target audience of 6 to 11. Of course, they didn't want to jeopardize that. Among all this, Cartoon Network also launched a nighttime block, Adult Swim, when the channel swiftly changed from cartoons to adult shows. They were on a roll, with satisfying both the kids and parents all under one channel. The happiness was, however, short-lived, and CN faced a blow. In 2005, it started yet another block called Tickle You, aimed at preschool kids, which fell flat and had to be discontinued in 2006. It then made a worse decision to introduce live-action shows. With Sunday Pants, Cartoon Network tried shifting toward more mature content. The show would air for less than a month and was ultimately cancelled. They should have learned that putting live-action and animation together wasn't clicking. Unfortunately, they didn't, and the channel kept on trying it out. In 2007, Cartoon Network got a new president, Snyder, and he effed up. Snyder brought in quite a lot of changes, and he now intended to increase the channel's target audience. Precisely what he shouldn't have done. Snyder wanted to reach out to older kids, aged 9 to 14, and reduce comedic animation. It didn't blow up on his face, per se. For 2 years, things went kinda smooth, though Toonami was shut down. 2009 was, however, not the best year. Cartoon Network didn't premiere any original show. Rather, they started focusing on live action. They started a block named CN Real, which was meant to air alternative live-action reality shows. Of course, the audience wasn't happy. The channel was losing its original promise. CN Real garnered poor ratings, and most of its content was removed within a year. Nonetheless, Cartoon Network's downfall had begun, albeit slowly. In 2010 came another logo revamp and a new brand tagline, Check It. Thankfully, we even got 2 original shows, namely Regular Show and Adventure Time, airing that year, and it seemed like things were slowly getting back on track. Cartoon Network again flew high with Ben 10, Generator Rex, and Sim Bionic Titan. However, some shows, though popular like Tower Prep and Unnatural History, started struggling with ratings and catered to a demographic outside CN's core audience. That is not a good thing, and consequently, both of them were cancelled after just 1 season. CN's executives pulled another oopsie-daisy once again by starting the Adult Swim block from 8 o'clock. As a result, new episodes of the network series had to change time slots. In 2014, Cartoon Network's decline was evident. Firstly, it went through a short chaos when CNN and Boomerang, along with Cartoon Network, were taken off-air from the US-based TV provider Dish Network. Good that the disagreement over contracts got resolved soon, and the channels were restored. I can't help but wonder whether it was an omen. There was a president change, with Christina Miller replacing Snyder, and Miller did try her best to keep Cartoon Network afloat. She encouraged new shows, digital growth by launching interactive apps, changing video formats, and even opened an amusement hotel in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania in 2020. However, by now, things have started changing. CN started getting overshadowed by children's shows on Netflix and other OTT platforms. For the first time in decades, Cartoon Network was no longer the absolute destination for kids, because they can now stream whatever they want anytime. Advertisement sales started dropping. Between 2014 and 2024, the income from ads for Cartoon Network and Adult Swim dropped somewhat by 80%. greasy. It indicated collapse. We know that when advertisers start moving away, well, especially from kids' programming blocks, the entire system starts getting shaky. In the middle of all this, the only person who seemed like she could hold it all together, Christina, resigned. The channel was now scrambling with the transition, and the new interim head, Michael Uwilleen, joined hands with HBO Max. Cartoon Network was now supposed to move several programs like Infinity Train, Seasons of Summer Camp Island, and others to become a part of the streaming service. These were originally meant for the channel. Alas, by this point, Warner Bros. Discovery started pulling back on funding. Moreover, the Warner Media merger with Discovery Inc. harmed Cartoon Network in every possible way. The channel faced hasty reorganizations and cutbacks. HBO Max wasn't much of a safe space for Cartoon Network programs either. Max was supposed to help CN shift to this on-demand streaming era. However, think about it. How many people tune into Max for kids' shows? Simply because Max didn't make itself stand out as a primary platform for kids' shows. As a result, in 2022, several Cartoon Network programs were removed from HBO Max too, and some were even suddenly cancelled. The shows were less discoverable. Some of their licenses had expired and many were underperforming. Sigh. The downfall has only gotten increasingly painful. Soon, Cartoon Network only existed as an imprint after its development and production operations joined Warner Bros. Animation. There was a physical fall of Cartoon Network too. Yep, as horrible as it sounds, it happened. The Cartoon Network studios in Burbank closed its doors in 2023. Cartoon Network no longer had a home of its own. The new CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery was serious about cost cutting, and thus shedding buildings was not out of the question. Moreover, he wasn't interested in creating more original shows. All he wanted was to rehash established IPs and rely on reboots. All of this happened way too abruptly and in a very short time. If Cartoon Network had some time, or all these changes had popped up individually, well, they might have fought back. However, it was too late. CN's voice and autonomy was gone. They hoped nostalgia would somehow keep them going forward, and it may have for us. However, the truth is that nostalgia alone can't hold up Cartoon Network for long. The thing is that Cartoon Network's downfall was imminent from the mid-2010s. I mean, yeah, it was still delivering hit shows, but turning a blind eye to the rising popularity of streaming culture backfired. Consequently, many homes started bidding goodbye to cable television, and even if some did hold onto it, an earlier plan of CN bit them back. Remember how the package model worked charms for it? Well, they should have changed to a standalone channel long ago, because channel bundles weren't that attractive anymore. Wait, there are quite a few other places where they should have tightened the ropes. Firstly, dealing better with competition. Cartoon Network probably believed that it was unmatchable. This overarching confidence shrouded their vision and perfectly helped other channels, particularly Disney, to establish itself as a cartoon channel. Sure, it started in 1983 as a live-action channel, which soon started airing more and more cartoons. Needless to say, it was a huge success because we got two spin-offs, Disney Junior and Disney XD. Nickelodeon too was trying to find its place. Still, Cartoon Network didn't care to think about its rivals. They were having too good a time. Obviously, they failed at franchise building or expanding shows into movies. Yeah, they looked into it later, but let's just say they missed out on the right time, and that cost Cartoon Network a lot. Neither were they racking their brains for creating more and more new shows, because using old IPs were working out just fine. Someone should have screamed into their ears to wake up. Audience preferences have changed by now. Kids nowadays no longer need to go back to the same old cartoons. There are endless streaming platforms that have popped up, and they're offering all kinds of shows. Cartoon Network needed a jolt and clung to HBO Max, which was another bad decision, as we talked about. I mean, Netflix or Prime Video could have been much better. For instance, if either of these two had a dedicated collection for Cartoon Network programs, well, I'm sure fans would love that, and that would help to bring in newer viewers. Because trust me, I want my kids to experience some of my childhood. Shutting down the website was the nail in the coffin. In August 2024, the Cartoon Network website was pulled down, and viewers were redirected to Max. Oh god, they already don't have half the shows, and now Warner Bros. Discovery has even closed the website. I remember all the rest in peace posts when this happened. We can never forget how the site was our comfort place. Free episodes, games, interactive content, clips. Cartoon Network still felt alive. Even that's gone now. Boomerang 2 got drawn into HBO Max by September 2024. I swear to God, I'm on the verge of crying. Cartoon Network is gone, dude. It would never be the same again. Never. The channel is somehow breathing from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. on certain cable networks in the US and some other regions. What's even sadder is the deterioration wasn't because the quality of cartoons went bad. No, if that was the only reason, then Teen Titans Go wouldn't be running for over a decade. Cartoon Network's drop was primarily because Warner Brothers seemed determined to kill every aspect of the brand. On top of that, the animation industry was in crisis itself. There were rampant layoffs. Producers barely took the chance with original cartoons because trends seemed more alluring now. Cost reduction was at an all-time high, and Warner Brothers jumped on board to do all these things other studio executives were doing, and Cartoon Network was guillotined. Sure, the channel didn't die in the literal sense, yet it lost its glory and existed only in a somewhat crippled state, slowly becoming irrelevant. As it so happens, Cartoon Network's future is in more trouble after Netflix announced that it wouldn't be acquiring it. With that, our dreams of Netflix welcoming Cartoon Network content were shattered. Not that I'm happy that they chose HBO Max, but now it seems Netflix too wouldn't have been that much of a sweetheart, because their deal with Warner Brothers includes films, television studios like HBO and HBO Max, video games, and DC Comics. The rest of the company's works, which includes Cartoon Network, is excluded from this contract and would be spun off into a different publicly traded company. A few weeks later, Starz Entertainment put in a $25 billion bid to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery's global linear networks division, meaning Cartoon Network, along with CNN, TNT, and TBS, might come under it. Cartoon Network is just a sellable asset now. That hurts so much. Well, that being said, Cartoon Network can still revive itself. It won't be easy, yeah, true, but it's possible. See, the CN app is out there, yet it's not as popular. Trust me, I didn't even know much about it till today, because it hasn't been marketed well enough. Warner Brothers made an app. Good. The effort was blatantly lackadaisical. They didn't care to spend a penny more than needed to promote it and make the app an actual success. Cartoon Network needs a visible presence, a lot more than we think, and the only way, in my opinion, to do that is to accept the change and go for a hybrid model. Like they keep the classics running, appeal to the older audience's memories, while launching new content for the present generation. Cartoon Network has to go back to original programming. The plan of thriving on existing IP will only put it in the grave, quite literally, this time. So, whichever platform or big shot house picks it up, CN is in desperate need to rediscover itself. I know, it's easier said than done, and for all of this to work out, they'd need to team up with a streaming site which actually caters to the younger audience and has a dedicated section for them. Once that's done, CN can begin again with small-scale experimental shows and to rebuild the trust and ensure constant flow of creativity. That's what made Cartoon Network what it was, right? A place for genuine creators to showcase their talents. CN can do it again. Trust me, they can, and they have countless people rooting for them. Transparent boardroom decisions about budget, accessibility, promotion of shows. They need to get a hold of the reins again. If Cartoon Network can strike the balance, well, you'd find it flourishing in the digital age. To answer the question we began, what went wrong with Cartoon Network? Well, a lot of things. We can't just blame the shift in technology or change in viewers' choices. As horrible as it sounds, Cartoon Network did play a part in its own demise. They should have been more vigilant from a long time ago. And at the risk of sounding rude, I guess CN's unchallenged power got to its head. They were too high on a pedestal, thinking nothing could ever pull them down, without even realizing that the very tower they were standing on was slowly eroding. Before all the Warner Brothers drama happened and OTT swooped into our lives, Cartoon Network had already messed up, not encouraging fresh content, losing advertisements, constant hasty changes in leadership. It showed clear signs of a major crash. It's hard to forgive the authorities for not looking into that, and to be honest, Cartoon Network suffered the fate it laid out for itself. We shouldn't be surprised. It was a dynasty that touched the pinnacle of success, only for its successors to mishandle that. And we all know what happens when an empire weakens. The others strike. Cartoon Network was fatally struck by technological evolution. They should have and could have armored pretty well. Seems like CN was too hungover on the past to even plan a future. Tragically, it's us who have lost a huge chunk of our childhoods. Anyway, I guess I've ranted enough. It's hoping CN manages to pull itself up. Things won't be the same again, but it'll still be something. At least a torn part of an old picture we'll always hold dear. I'll get out of your hair now. Let me know how badly you miss Cartoon Network in the comments below, and let's sob together. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.